go. We are back for another warm-up show on the October 4th, 2022. This is your hockey coach, Guru Cole Franchise, directly for the beautiful Thailand. And we are Mr. ENORTAP, directly from where? Toronto tonight.
Hey, Coach, how are you? Hockey Nation, welcome aboard to another day of the warm-up show.
Another great show in front of us, Mr. ENORTAP. Can we talking about some prediction? We have already some different news around the league. We can maybe talk right away at the beginning of the show. And let's talk for the Montreal Canadiens. They announced they released 7 players for the main camp. Still too many players, but I expect more will be cut after the game tonight. But what do you think about the 7 players have been cut? The biggest one name for me is Philippe Mazar. Well, the Hockey National Show make a video 24 hours before the announce for the Montreal Canadiens. I got my contact inside the team and said, look, Philippe Mazar is going to be Laval, so let's see what happening. I said, yeah, man, possible. Let's make a video. And that's honestly happening. Philippe Mazar return in Laval Rocket. What is your first impression about this news, Mr. ENORTAP?
I'm not overly surprised, even though he's put in a good training camp and he's played well in a couple of the games that I've seen him. He seems to be very adaptable. He's almost ready for the NHL, but not quite there yet. So it doesn't surprise me that he was put down. The signing of Owen Beck was nice. I really thought giving him the extension, the ELC there, it was a good move because it allows them to have a little bit more control of how he's used and how he's developed. And I suspect, like you said, that after tonight's game, we'll probably see a couple more moves being made. We're getting closer and closer to the starting day lineup.
Yeah, absolutely about that. I expect a couple more. So I think they're going to go to Maritime, like I put on my video today, about 26 to 28 players going to go to Maritime. And we know they're leaving Wednesday for about 5-6 days on the Maritime. Play 2 games against Ottawa Senator. Then they're going to stay there like a retreat, like a team building, or what's happening over there. So it will be very interesting to follow. And then another big news we talk about is Matthew Barzal just signed a contract at 8 years, a little bit over $9.125 million AAV, a total of over $73 million. What is your thinking about that contract?
I look at it and I understand that the salary cap will be going up over the next few years. And maybe when we talk 5 years down the road, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, this won't seem that extravagant of a contract. But I think for today and the production that Barzal has given, I found it a little bit too much at 9.125. I thought he was more in the neighborhood of around 8. But sometimes, you have to lock up your best players. And I just look at the Islanders and I'm going, where are they going to get their offense? That's my only concern. I think defensively they'll be fine. They have a good goaltending tandem, so they'll be fine that way. But I even question, how many points do you think Barzal will get this year?
I still believe about 70 points. I think he will increase a little bit more. 70 points will be the way. I think it reminds me a little bit what happened with Jack Hughes. I think Jack Hughes is going to step up more at 80 points. I think increasing Barzal will be a little bit higher. I think the second thing I would say to you, it's rare you're going to see Barzal maybe not much point on the power play with a new way. Thanks so much, Mr. Frederic Montour.
Welcome.
New
Welcome,
subscriber.
Frederic.
I would say that the way like a new coach, new system, everything this put all together, I think will be a little bit more increasing the number of points. And the fact like some players make it 60, 70, Mr. ENORTAP, is usually the number of point need to come for the power play. And I think that's what he's missing overall for him. So he can get those kind of 7, 8, 9 point power play with increasing a bit 5 goals per more season. I think he can reach that kind of number for the upcoming year.
For sure. Yeah.
So Will be interesting to see that, Mr. Nortap. Before we start talking a little bit more diving, because the subject of the day is a prediction for the Central Division. We're going to go through the 8 team with the standing. Maybe welcome everybody in the chat. We have a few people, and then we're going to go right away there. But first of all, welcome Mr. Matthew SLATER. Wow, Matthew is back in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, welcome, Matthew.
You know, some people take a break during the off season, so we're not going to watch a YouTube channel. Better to go swimming and go some kind of rodeo on the horseback and some stuff like that. In Colorado, that's happening. But Matthew is back with us, Mr. Nortap. Glad to see you. And then went not to go to Finland. I think the snow is not there yet, but I think it's coming very soon. Why not to welcome our best friend, Mr. Jarmo Virtanen, is in the house.
Jarmo, welcome, boy.
And, we have always we are really to take it very seriously happening. We have a team sweat, but this year we have a new member. We have James Bond, part of the team, a sweat. And then we have Mr. Vinny, James 007, and Mr. ENORTAP is in the house today.
007, welcome aboard.
And our friend continues to show up every single time, and we're glad to having her, Melissa Zabran. Welcome in the house today.
How's it going, Melissa?
Thanks to be a part of the show. And then we have the trompetist, member of the Hockey National Show, supporter, and of course, assistant moderator, Mr. Luciano GRAZIANO.
Hey, Luciano.
Talking about the moderator, Mr. Nata, we're not to go all the way to the upstate New York, still your south, your neighborhood. Mr. Jose Duarte is in the house this morning.
The man of the men. Welcome.
And here we go. Now he's become normal because that's the time we can get him. Before he cannot, and after it depends what's going on. But now he's back every single time for the warm-up show. Mr. Dixon Automobile Group is in the house tonight.
Dixon, how are you? Long time.
Maybe his school is done with all the car. Now he's ready. So, that's enough. I sold so many cars this summer. Time now to watch a little bit more the Hockey National Show. And we're going, time to get there. But a show without him because we don't know what's going to happening. But he's with us. We know what's going to happening because we have the best of all the update around the league. Mr. RJ Calabro is in the house tonight.
Welcome aboard.
Glad to see you, everybody. Thanks. I think I'm getting. Oh, our friend Tony. Tony is back with us. Thanks to be a part of the show. And Tony said to you, Mr. Nortap, hey, coach, and finalement, we get notre wish, Slavkovsky with Suzuki and Caulfield tonight. Again, the Ottawa Senator. Why the Ottawa Senator? They take it very seriously. Full roster NHL player tonight again in Montreal Canadiens. Possibly they go 0-6.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I want to see some more Slavkovsky. Actually, I was pretty adamant that he should have gone down earlier, and I thought, there's no way he's going to stay up. But if he, I sort of bounced the two ideas back and forth, and when you look at Slavkovsky, he's got size, he's got good hands. Like this guy, even though he's 18. He's played with men before. So I'm starting to doubt whether sending him down is the best thing for him at this point. I still have to think it over some more, but I don't think he'll be out of place if he stays here in Montreal. And why not? We have to have tapered expectations for Montreal. We know that what the situation is, what they're working towards. We know they're not going to be making the playoffs. So why not let these kids play together and learn together so that they can grow together?
Yeah, it will be interesting. I think this is a really important game for him tonight because this is going to make a big statement. If he can perform it like yesterday and while with the play and to get 1 point, and you can see he played a solid game yesterday, he don't go nowhere. He will stay with the Montreal Canadiens. He will repeatedly. That's what the Montreal Canadiens want to see from him. And this is really where you're going to have a better idea what happened with Slavkovsky tonight. that would be one more close. Then he played 2 more games this weekend, but really important game for him. I don't like the idea to play with Caulfield and Suzuki, unfortunately. But the fact is, in Montreal, it's not the end of the world. But if I was starting the season, I would not start with Suzuki, Caulfield. You play against the best player against the opponent team, and then you're going to the best defenseman to opponent team. If you want to helping him, you have to put him on the third line, a 4 line. And I think that would be the great spot with him. Put him with Kirby Dak, where I would put him on the third line center. And I think that will helping him, Kirby Dak, to develop better at play first or second line for the Montreal Canadiens. I think I like the fact they will use Suzuki, DUARTE, possibly Monahan or Dak, and then Dak Monahan, depending on what they want to see that. But I think that would be the way they will always do it at the beginning of the season. Definitely won't talk about more about those lines, but glad to see Savkaski at least try with Caulfield at home. I will see what he look, but really important game for him for this future, if he stay or not with the Montreal Canadiens, for sure. We have a question for Yamo, Mr. Notab. I just want to answer that to him. Did someone hit Savkaski yesterday from behind?
I'm not sure. I didn't.
Yeah, I can answer that. Yes, it's happening. Yesterday, Ashton Reese hit in the back. It was not a bad Savkaski did not hurt. It was just not a back number, but it was barely on the side, but more like the back. He got a 2 minute for behind, but no injury about Savkaski, honestly. But that's happening yesterday, Mr. Notap.
Okay.
The last first round pack. Not playing the first year is Joe Thornton. Schlav Winston. The last round pick did not play in the first year, Joe Thornton.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, usually, when they come as advertised, these first rounders, teams are going to take a voucher on them and use them in their team. If not for the 9 games, for the whole season. And that seems to be the direction that they go. There's a reason why in the first place they're ranked that high, and that means that they're pretty much ready for the NHL to some degree. So that's why such a long interval.
Yeah, I don't want to to go against Tony, but I think honestly it's Matt Sutton in 1993.
The last one.
Yeah, that no one never played any game at first overall pick.
After, yeah.
Andy Koivola is in the house.
Hey, Andy, how's it going?
So we'll see happening about this. We'll see what kind of start Ottawa will get now with better players. I know Yamo, he talked about this earlier, Mr. Natap. And this another news. Cam Talbot will be out for 5 to 7 weeks. What are you thinking about this one?
That's going to hurt them. I thought Talbot was the perfect solution for them moving forward with Forsberg as their backup. It's going to put a lot of undue stress on Forsberg at this point. Maybe he's ready to ride with it until Talbot can come back. But you're almost talking 2 months, and you're talking about a team that, let's face it, they were very active in the off season. They acquired a lot of pieces, but it's not enough just to take these pieces and throw them on the ice and expect, we're in the playoffs. They have to build chemistry. They have to find the right lines, the right situations to use the players, and that's going to take time. And that's the one luxury that Ottawa really doesn't have. If you consider the last 2 or 3 years, they've gotten off to bad starts, even though they finish off the year very well. But they kind of take themselves out of a wild card situation right from the get-go with these slow starts. And that's something they really can't afford to do this year. And unfortunately, the Talbot injury seems to be something that's going to work against them.
Yep, so right. I agree with you. Welcome, Mr. Rory McNeely is in the house, Mr. Natap.
Hey, Rory.
He said, "What's up, coach? What's up, Natap? What's up, coach? We are
Evening,
there. We are
everybody.
there, Mr. Rory. We're a little bit rusty, right? We are a little bit rusty because now it's second show of the year number 2 of the warm-up show, Mr. Untitled. So, but we're getting there. We're getting there. He feel like Montreal have some hole, and the Montreal Canadiens don't expect to make the playoff. I agree with you. Sometimes they are bigger hole or sometimes smaller hole, depends. But I think Montreal is going to find a way to get some patch to be sure we don't have too much hole and the team for upcoming year, Mr. ENORTAP. And that's conclude everybody in the chat. So don't forget, guys, to click on the likes. We appreciate your participation tonight. Mr. ENORTAP, before we go in the Central Division, maybe one more thing we want to talk about is what is the new things to do for the upcoming year about the prediction. And maybe you can slide this, and I was helping you to put the email right there.
Right. So just to reiterate some of the points we brought up yesterday, in terms of our main concept, it'll be the same, to look at every game, every evening for the whole season and make our predictions based on, patterns and things that we see. And we want everybody involved. So coaches posted right there in front of you the email address, rather than coach writing down all your predictions and you having to type them into the chat. We figured it might be a better idea to put all your predictions in the email, forward it to that Gmail account, and then we'll take care of the rest from there. And everything else will be the same. We'll still post the results the next day, the leaderboards, who goes to jail from a poor evening's predictions, and it should be a lot of fun. I know last year it was fantastic. We all loved doing it.
You're absolutely right there. We're going to start next week, honestly, when you had the first game. We don't do the game this weekend in Switzerland, but we're going to go back when the season starts. Usually start October 12th. So we're going to go all the prediction. October 11, we want to invite everybody. Don't forget, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. We have a special panelist show. We're going to bring a couple of people to join us with some kind of prediction and sometime a contributor. We're going to talk about the upcoming season. So I just want to remind this, everybody. And then Luciano, big statement here. We're going to take a note about this. Take a picture, Mr. ENORTAP. So the HABS will win the first W tonight. So we'll see about this, what's happening. But Mr. ENORTAP, we are talking about honestly, the Central Division prediction. We're going to go a little bit deeper like we did yesterday. We have about 30 minutes to go through this, 40 minutes, so it'll be pretty good. We should be on the time tonight. We should be really good about this. Again, everybody, in the chat, you can give us your prediction of the ranking, where you're going to see them understanding. We now go from the top to the bottom, or the bottom to the top. We go left and right, everything like that. We now go a little bit deeper. We're going to talk about each team, the graphic, the lineup, everything. So the first team is ENORTAP. He's not there right now because he was here. He was said, it's going to be really bad, but he's coming very soon. The Bear. We talk about the Chicago Bear 97, our friend Nick. Let's start with the Chicago Blackhawks, Mr. ENORTAP. Let's see the graphic of the line tonight about the upcoming season. Do you expect them to be a little bit over 70 points, Mr. ENORTAP? The playoff, only 2% they can make it, and no chance to win the Stanley Cup. So don't buy your tickets. Maybe start to get for your ticket for the baseball and when they go to the playoff. But that's a subject for the time, Mr. ENORTAP. Let's see their starting lineup. Of course, we have Patrick Kane with Jonathan Toews. But when you talk about Lucas Reichel on the second line, and then you get Athanasio, Max Domi, Tyler Johnson, Colin Blackwell, Keira come back now. Hopefully, with best help for him. We know he have a problem with concussion. Sam Lafferty, ex-Chicago, ex-Pittsburgh Penguins. Kurashev at the bottom with McKenzie and Taylor Radish. Defenseman Zed Jones, and then Vlasic is there. McCabe is there, but he's hurt. Not going to start the season. Couple of months out. Connor Murphy, Caleb Jones, Jack Johnson, the Mr. Do you think Jack Johnson play on the wheelchair this year, or do you think he'll be faster on the wheelchair, or he's going to be faster when he's skating? That would be the biggest question.
They might have to use him in net.
Peter Marechek and Alex Stanlock are the two goaltenders for them. So that gives you an idea what they are. Just see the name, and then we'd be interesting about that. I expect, I'm going to give you my own prediction about this Max Domi is
Yeah.
going to be traded at the trade deadline.
That's interesting. You know what? If they get a half decent little return for him, I don't see why they would hang on to him. He wouldn't fit. He doesn't really fit into their future. That makes sense. I could see that happening.
Yeah, absolutely about this. Before we know a little bit more about this, what are you thinking? Welcome, Mr. David Arthur and our friend host Joseph Laham. Everything is big in Texas.
Hey,
Welcome aboard, Joseph.
Welcome, guys.
And he expect him to be a little bit less of 70 points, Mr. Nortap. And then Luciano take him at the last spot and the standing. David Archer, our friend, is in the house. Mr. Nortap, thanks so much, David, to be with us. So tell a little bit more what your overview about the Chicago Blackhawks.
Well, Coach, let's not delude ourselves. I think it's quite obvious what the Hawks have in their intentions, and that's literally to tank, literally and figuratively. They've realized that they were getting a little bit old at the tooth, but unfortunately, their offseason managed to get a little bit worse when they went ahead and traded guys like the Brinkat to Ottawa, of course, Kirby Dack, Dominic Kubalik as well. We saw the exit of Dylan Strome. There were a couple guys there that I thought, maybe could have fit into their future plans, but I think they're looking at it from a different perspective. They want to strip it down to the main foundation and build up through prospects and picks. And that's what we're going to see. Like the only lone bright spot that remains on the team and may prevent them from finishing last overall is the fact that they have Taves and Kane still on the team. They're especially Kane. At this point, he's still an elite hockey player. We hear that there's 31 teams lined up to try to get his services. But looking at the team and what they have here, I anticipate Kane and Taves will probably both be gone at some point. But there isn't much to get excited about right now. Unfortunately, they're going to have to really hang on tight and hopefully they do their due diligence in terms of scouting prospects and picking the right picks when the time comes.
Yeah, absolutely right about this.
In my opinion, yeah. So in my opinion, I think they'll finish depending on I was juggling between Arizona and Chicago, but I think if Chicago gets rid of Kane, I can see Chicago finishing last in the division.
Yeah, it would all depend when you're going to trade Kane and Taves. Honestly, that's what would make them a last position of Arizona. But right now, I would put them 7 if I have to get the standing, and Arizona number 8. That would be my selection. But listen, this is a completely rebuilding from the scratch, from the foundation. But Korchinski, Nazar, Renzel, Longwoodski, the 4 pick. They are really good hockey players. Korchinski, by the way, have an amazing great camp at the point he could let him play at the beginning of the season. So just give you an idea, it's a great selection over there. I'm not sure, Frank Nazar is going to be a great hockey player. The Sam Renzel, a little bit concerned about him. Sam Renzel, for the people who don't know him, is a big defenseman, almost 6'4". He's only 18, played at the high school in Minnesota, and he's going to play USHL for the upcoming year, but this could be interesting. They took him before Philippe Mazar. That was something we're going to remember forever, honestly. And then, but we'll see. But Luciano predict Kane would be out before Christmas, and it would be interesting. Our friend Terry Titus is in the house. Terry, thank you to be with us, Mr. Terry. Glad to see you aboard with us today. The next thing we go from one extremist to the another extremist, Mr. Nortap. I like to go that way. He make us a bit, smiling, crying. But that's no subject for the time. The Colorado Avalanche, Mr. Nortap, we know they are the winner of the Stanley Cup last season, but it lost a couple of key major players during the off
They sure
season.
did.
It's really hard when you keep that kind of, the dynasty by the player like this, and then they give them 106.0.0106 point, and 96% they go in the playoff, and they're almost locked in, and then the Stanley Cup 11% about this. So what it will be, Mr. ENORTAP, you're thinking about the Colorado Avalanche for upcoming season. Just give you an idea, they put right now Lekonen on the top with McKinnon and Ratanen, Nichushkin with Newhook and Lestergaard. We know Lestergaard not start the season with them. No, look like he did. I don't know if he signed a contract. I could be wrong, but I think he's still on the PDO. It's Rodriguez, Judy Comfort, and Logan O'Connor. Magna, Darren Hound, and Andrew Cogliano. Defensemen, we know. McCarr, Hayes, who they are, Girard, Mason, Eric Johnson, and Bowen Biran. Biran have an amazing, great camp so far, by the way. And, Georgiev Franco, so I can't wait to hear from you a little bit more.
Well, Coach, as with many championship-winning teams, the difficult thing is to keep everybody heading into the new season. And, of course, the Avalanche are no exception to this rule. It's unfortunately a side effect of the salary cap and trying to maintain the key components that got you to a Stanley Cup, right? And it's not going to be possible. We've seen it with many teams, from Tampa Bay to the Chicago, even Pittsburgh to a lesser degree. I worry a little bit about the subtractions from the team this year, like losing Kadri, losing Burakovsky, Obi Cabell to a lesser degree, Nico Sturm. They added, obviously, to the depth of the team, especially in Kadri and Burakovsky's case. They gave him that supplementary scoring touch that they need. Now, the good news is that Colorado was deep, and still continues to be deep. So I don't think that they're gonna skip a beat here. I still consider them the favorites. These losses are they're gonna hurt Colorado, but when you got guys like Nathan McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar, and they're leading the way, there's no doubt that they should remain the favorites this season for me to win the Central Division. And I would say perhaps even the Stanley Cup again. I think that they're going to give it a good run. With Kumper gone, the Avs added Georgiev, who, if you look at the analytics, Georgiev plays better when he draws a lot of games. And that was one of the reasons why he left the Rangers, behind Shesterkin. He wasn't going to see much ice time or games that he puts under his belt. And he performs best when he plays a lot. So I anticipate that he might not be great in Colorado, but he'll be very good. I have that faith in him that I think he'll rebound and give him a good opportunity. And I think the Avalanche are sort of betting on that, because in the last year they weren't overly worried about their goaltending. They were just sort of, if we can get decent goaltending, our offense, and look at their defense, it's remarkable, from Taves, Makar, Girard, Manson, Byram. Like, these guys are probably, they rank, I would say, in the top 3 in the NHL defensively, if not number 1. So I don't see a drop off for them, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I think I follow your point of view about them. I think, honestly, they don't need the goalies. They keep the puck all the time on the blade, so they can carry on the puck for 58 minutes. So, they can let 2 goals and then 3 goals, maybe 4, but they're going to score 5, 6, 7. So I think we'll be fine. Mr. Kerry Willett is in the house. Welcome aboard with some update from the Montreal Canadiens. Thanks so much to be a part of the show. Look, My biggest question for me is going to be the middle of the center, like New Hook at GD Comfort. That will be my biggest concern about this. And then after that, it's about the goaltender, how they're going to performing. That's pretty much my 2 point. But again, I still believe they're going to make a big major, big trade, the trade deadline to get major players around the league. And I cannot,
It's possible. Yeah.
I feel like Patrick Kane. I feel Patrick Kane is going to be the next player over there. And I would not be surprised they go with Jonathan Taze, Mr. Notap.
I think Taze would fit better
Yes.
with this team
Yes.
because he gives him that leadership ability. He's been there before. Not that other people that are on the team, especially now that they've won a cup under and put on their belt, need that. But when you get another experienced voice in the change room, and a guy that can calm everything down, and you're not expecting a lot from him. That's the key thing, right? You got the heavy hitters that will
But
get
he's
you
the
your
next
points.
Paul Stastny, Mr. Notap.
That's a possibility too.
But my point, like,
I mean,
he is the next player where the Paul Stastny fix the whole team. Like,
yes,
he's not the center number one. He's not number two.
right,
But the way he play, he become a number two center. That's how he get with Stastny. So for me, he will fit very well as the number three. A little bit of Jordan Stowley with Carolina. That's the reason he is there. And I think Taze can fit that kind of players for this organization more at Patrick Kane because Kane is more like a winger. So I think
right.
that's absolutely right about this. But yeah, so that's happening here, Mr. Notap. So let's move on to the next thing we have. And this one is really, I don't know. The Dallas
It's your
Star. The
favorite
Dallas Star
team.
have a new coach. Of course, honestly, they gave a contract extension to the general manager, Jim Neal, for the upcoming year. But again, they have a couple of questionable things about Jason Robinson. Where I would be honest with you, the Canadian show after some kind of, we called Elliot Philman last night. I said, Elliot to help me. And he's frustrated, Elliot, because he said, I'm tired, sick to talking about Jason Robinson. I said, okay, I understand, Elliot. So maybe I can talk with Merrick if you want to. But he said, no, I will answer to your question. He said, look, he's going to sign a contract before Friday. So, okay, that's one thing we need to know because in our top, he's a little bit nervous and I want to calm him down when he show up at the warm-up tomorrow. So I want to be sure he's ready. So I said, no, you can tell him. It's okay. I will tell him about this. So Minnesota top, that's my scoop of the day.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, with Dallas, I know last year they gave us all fits because they were probably the one thing you could say about Dallas was that they were the most inconsistent team in the NHL. You didn't what times you expected them to win, they would lose. Times you expected them to lose, they would win. I somehow maintained last year that they'd find a way to make it into the playoffs, and they did. And then when you consider that they brought Calgary to that seventh game behind the great goaltending of oh my gosh, Ottinger. It speaks volumes to their future. Like they will get Robertson signed. Don't worry about it. It might not be the 8 years like most teams are getting or most players are getting, but this guy's a part of their future. They're in a very delicate situation from what I see, and by that I mean they have some good upcoming players with the Rupee Hands. They have, of course, Jason Robertson. Now they brought up, they picked up Mason Marchment as well. But then they also have the older players, the Jamie Benn, Tyler Sagan. Pavelski's getting on in age now. Like I still anticipate good things out of him. Now they got rid of Alexander Radulov as well, so that should help. So they're trying to really find their identity, is what I think is the problem. Uh, but I think it's a team that will be there till the final couple of games in terms of determining whether they're in the playoffs or not. And we'll see. I just don't know the additions of Marchment and Colin Miller and Butcher, whether they'll be enough to bring them over the top and back into the playoffs. And they have to get additional scoring. They can't just rely on Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski to do things. I think Sagan's got to have a bounce back year. Same thing with Jamie Benn. And the defense, I'm expecting good things out of Heiskanen this year. I think with the absence of Klingberg, it makes him clearly their number one. And I think he's ready to respond to that position. I think they'll be okay. They'll be more than okay with Ottinger. But even with Scott Wedgwood as their backup, I think they're fine there as well. The defense and the second and third pairing are nothing to be getting too excited about. But yeah, I still have mixed emotions with Dallas. I personally think they're going to be at the end of the year, there'll be a point or two outside of the playoffs rather than in. But that's because I think a lot of other teams got stronger and they haven't yet.
Yep, so about this, we want to welcome back Mr. Marco Larabi. Thanks to be with us. And
Hey,
he
welcome,
said
Marco.
Longvis they got as a trade a couple of days ago, a week ago, from the New York Rangers. Already, I believe, 2 goals or 3 goals with them. He have an excellent game, an excellent camp with them. He's going to start with them for sure, Marco. He don't go nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
But the key, you mentioned him, he could become the top 5 players, defenseman in NHL, possibly to be a nomination. If you have a wild card as a defenseman for the Norris, put the name of Mikko Niskanen and put a little bit, $10 on him, and you maybe turn around this like a gold at the end of the year. Mikko Niskanen is maybe one of the underrated players under 25 years old in NHL, and now he's going to be, now you can leave the horse out. So what I'm talking about now, he was in the behind Kleinberg. Now he's nobody in front of him. He's going to control that team a little bit like Kel McCall does. Eskenin is going to be the next player like him. Not say he's going to be reached the same level, but he's going to be really about this. It's another one. The key is really Jimmy Benn for me. Jimmy Benn, if he can produce with that Torres again, that would be fine. If not, they're going to struggle overall. I don't like the bottom 6. Yamo bring Kuryanov. I know he was looking for him, but Kuryanov is another player. Like, he remind me, you know who he remind me, Mr. Natap? Is Joel Armia. Big size guys, but he cannot score. Like, he score, but you expect more from him. And Kuryanov is another one that, he go to a couple of weeks sleep and then he come back. So, we play hockey. Let's go play hockey. And then he come back. So, I'll be back in the next 3 weeks. But that's a kind of player. But we better think. I think for me, too many point 96.8. I don't see them. I don't see a team as the playoff. So I believe they're going to be number 5 in the standing of the Hockey National Show for the Central Division prediction.
I would agree.
Agree with me? But if you agree with me, let's move on to the really, they call them the Wild because they are wild. And they fit very well their nickname because they are really another dimension team in NHL with the way they play with the physicality, everything like that. We know the biggest problem over there is the salary cap, where they pay out 2 players, Sutter and Parise, for the next 2 years, over $14 million. So really interesting. They put him 105 points, Mr. Nortap, a little bit barely behind Colorado Avalanche, 1 point behind, 94% like them, and then 9% chance to win the Stanley Cup, 2% less of the Colorado Avalanche. That can give you, they put them very close. The biggest question over there, can Rand Hartman does exactly what he did last year? Can Zuccarello, the veteran, almost like 17 years in NHL, can he continue to do it about him next season? And then the defensive still over there, and then the veteran goaltender, Fleury the Flower, he become now the goaltender number 1, following by Philip Gustafson, the ex-goaltender, Ottawa Senator. So I'll let you talking about this team, and it would be interesting to see that what happening. Barco said Kuryanov remind me Benoit Pouliot, and I think you nailed it. I think you're absolutely right about this one over there. I agree with
Less
you.
flash.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Luciano put the wild third place. Mr. Notap, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Luciano hit the nail on the head there. I know from a lot of reading that I've been doing, some are really bullish on Minnesota and have them finishing second. I personally don't see that with St. Louis still in the mix. If we look at the additions, really, there hasn't been any in the off season, and yet they lost guys like Talbot, they lost guys like Fiala, uh, even Kulikov. I mean, Ben wasn't a huge contributor, but he's a depth, third pairing defenseman, which helped. Um, there's still going to be, make no mistake about it, that there's still going to be a very potent team. Anytime you have guys like Kaprasov and down the middle, you guys like they're strong with Hartman and Eric Sinek, Goudreau as well. And I'm expecting good things out of Marco Rossi as well. I think this guy will probably move up, possibly ahead of Goudreau at some point in the year. So they have some good depth. Their defensive group, they're solid, I think. The goaltending, yeah, it hurt to lose Talbot, but you still got Marc-Andre Fleury for 2 years, and I think we know what to expect from him, and he wins the big games when he has to. So you're not going to see a drop off there. My concern with Minnesota is they lost. I mean, you might not agree with me, but in losing Deschamps, oh my gosh, they lost them to Philadelphia.
Delaurier?
The fighter there, Delorier. That's it. Thank you. They're going to lose a little bit of their team toughness. They're not a particularly big, rugged team. They play a tough defensive game. They're team tough, but they're not. They can't take on. They can't afford to have guys like Marcus Foligno as a player fighting their battles. And I think last year, before they made that trade where they picked up Middleton, they picked up Delorier, we saw that teams were catching up to Minnesota. They went through a streak where I think in 10 games they were like 1-8-1, and it was because they were being pushed around on a nightly basis. And it wasn't until those two figures came in that all of a sudden things changed. They brought in Fleury as well, and that made a difference. But it's a deep team. Having said that, it's a deep team. They're going to have a good year. Expect them to be, right at the top as well. I just don't think. I think second place in the division is a little bit too much. I still think St. Louis will finish ahead of them.
Well, Mr. Notap, now we are fine. It's time to open up your pocket because now we have not the deal, because now we can make the deal. We have some free stuff. So why not have the duo and the house, Mr. Notap? We welcome both of them. The real deal, Brim and free stuff are in the house, Mr. Notap. And of course,
welcome, guys.
Of course, Marco said, I'm going to disagree with the Nortap. That Greenway line is one of the areas and in each other. I agree with you, Marco. I disagree with Mr.
They're not
Nortap
a big line.
because I believe Delorier, with already they have, it don't make a big strength overall for me. And I think that's not there. I think the Kevin Fiala, it will all depend on Matt Boldy. Boldy is not a center, he's a winger. And I think my biggest thing for me is that Kent Rand Hartman can score 30 goals again with Kaprizov and Zuccarello. We know Hartman have over 14% chance, 40% shooting goal last season. That would be my best thing about this. I'm going to surprise everybody here. I'm going to put them on the second position, and that's standing. And I will tell you why in the next couple of minutes. We're going to talk about the Blues. I think they're going to be the reason why you're going to see that Nicholas is in the house. Welcome aboard, Nicholas.
Hey,
there you go, Mr. Notap. 48. We have to hurry up. Nashville Predator, Mr. Notap. What do you see them? And we know they signed the contract of the Forsberg. Honestly, it was the biggest news. Everything like that. They bring another reader. I think that's another great news for them. And then at the defenseman, they bring, of course, Rand McDonald for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And overall, same team overall. Or the rest, possibly the Redditch to Lankinen is almost the same thing. So Trenin and Tomasino have more experience with Turner Janot. We know those three is almost. And then they give guarantee Cody Glass going to start the season with them for upcoming season. But they have some problem, but not some problem, but it will be interesting this team if they can repeat. That's my biggest question. Do you believe the Duchesne, the Hohenson can repeat what they did last season?
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right, Coach. Like the best move that the Predators did in the offseason was to resign Forsberg to that 8-year, $68 million contract to make sure that he remains the focal point of their offense. I'm a little bit weary when it comes to Matt Duchesne. I thought he put up a career year last year, one that he has never reproduced before. And I don't think I think we'll see a little bit of regression from him. But having said that, like there were some great pickups that they made, some additions in Niederreiter. I think McDonough will definitely fit in perfectly with that defense and the style of play that Nashville brings to the board or to the game. Even Zach Sanford doesn't hurt. Now, here's the difference. We were talking about Minnesota, and we look at Nashville. Now, to me, Nashville is that heavy team that, they can put up 2 or 3 lines that are going to hurt you. Like when you consider Tanner Jeannot is on your third line, and this guy, brings it every single game. I don't see that same intensity with any of the players on the Minnesota team. That's why I would have liked to have seen Delorier stay there because that's his style. But that aside, I think that that Nashville, is, that you played them on a nightly basis because by the time the game is over, you can feel the pain in your body, the different bruises and stuff. And when you have guys like Saros and net, you have Roman Yossi, your captain, and doing what he did last year. Now, whether he can reproduce that again, who knows? And guys like Forsberg up front, Jeannot's going to be a fantastic player. I think this team, we keep saying, I think this is the year they go down, but I don't see it this year. I see this team being in the mix for sure. They're in that area where they want to prove that they can get to the promised land, and some of their players are getting on in age. So I expect good things out of Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely right about this. Look, it will be interesting. I think for me, I'm looking for Tolvanen. This is one they expect a lot for the upcoming season. This is the one who's going to make maybe Nashville better overall. But can they repeat? Ken Forsberg is not now on his last contract year, is now on his first contract year of his over $9 million. So somewhere we have to follow up for sure. But the team for me, I qualify them for understanding over the Star and below the St. Louis Blues. Mr. UNORTAP, a lot of people talk about that team. Some they are interested about Tolvanen, of course, and then Marco talk about Cody Glass and Luciano put them 4th and 5th. Depends with the Star. But I think for me, I think the only reason they can put or not put they cannot be in the rock and the stand and the playoff. All depends what happening in the Pacific Division, Mr. UNORTAP.
Exactly.
And because we're missing time, Mr. UNORTAP, we just want to welcome all the fans for the Arizona Coyotes. Let's move on to the next team. But that's a subject for another time. The Winnipeg Jet, Mr. UNORTAP. Brody, we know what's going on over there. And we have about 5 minutes to shut down here. Winnipeg Jet have about Glenn Wheeler problem with a remove. New coach Rick Bonnes. It's a team remind us look like the Dallas Star. We don't know. Honestly, the ex predict them 88.3, 31% make the chance, 0 chance to win the Stanley Cup. Pretty good at the top. Their lineup, right? Nicolas Eller, maybe for me, is underrated player in this NHL. Cole Perfetti is a rookie, doing very well at the camp. If I can give you a couple inside, he signed a veteran Sam Gagner a couple of days ago. Cal Melcar is really one with Max Sheffley run that team. And Pierre-Luc Dubois have a great year overall. Always been a questionable the defenseman. Honestly, they look like the Montreal Canadiens. When I said that, they never have a defenseman number one at the level like Edmund, Ozzy, or the Tank. And we know Connor Hellebuck. He is really the Iron Man in NHL. Obviously, have a really not a great year last season when he played Jet. I understand the team was not very good, but he did not performing like he does usually. A lot of questionable was he's just maybe feel to be tired more quicker, faster because so many years he was playing the most game in NHL.
Right. And I've seen the line. I'm surprised that they still have Blake Wheeler there on the first line because I've seen it with Connor Shifley and Ehlers. So that'll be interesting to see if they maintain that line. Look, this team has a ton of talent. They've had it for a number of years now. Um, I really look forward to seeing the progression of a guy like Cole Perfetti. The problem for me is they rely heavily on Connor Hellebuck, and this guy is not the same at the same level that he was in 2018, 2019, when he basically stood on his head and would not allow more than two, maximum three goals at times, and led the league even in shutouts. Uh, the defense, they lost a lot of players over the years, and like you said, it's a group that hasn't really moved forward. DeMello had promise, and he's good, but he's not. He hasn't broken through. Pionk is steady, but still hasn't broken through. So they're missing that true number one pairing. More importantly, to me, there's something wrong with the team. There's some internal conflict going on, and I've heard that it can either galvanize them, and they might have a great year. But I think more the opposite. If certain players aren't cleared from that team at some point, this could be a long year for Winnipeg. But we'll see in the end.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions like Aonola will make a team. I don't think so. Brett Lambert is on one right now. It'll be interesting to follow, but I don't think so. They would keep a Brent Lambert for the team. You have an okay camp and not a bad camp. So that'll be another one. Can he keep him at the beginning a couple of games? Yes. Can he stay there? I don't think so. But it will be another way, another team where I believe it's going to be number 6 in the standing, Mr. Untitled.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's finishing with the St. Louis Blues. We know it's all about now the team of Jordan Bennington. They let go of Ville Husso. Big contract, Robert Thomas, Jordan Kiro. And the reason why, because they are the top 6 over there. Tarasenko, Puchnevich together, sad third line. Parpashev have a great year last season. Brennan we know what they are. Jake Neighbors, can we make the team stay with the team? He's a really great hockey player from the Edmonton All King last season, WHL. Noel Akshera, directly from the Panthers. Logan Brown from Ottawa Senator. And Nathan Walker brings some kind of speed at the team. The defenseman, Lady, Kruk, and Mikola. We know they lost Scantella. Pordozo, Falk and Barenko, and we know they lost Perinovic, defenseman, and Thomas Grace is an additional well-balanced team for the top to the bottom from the forward defenseman and goaltender. We know, by the way, Nick Leddy signed a new contract with them. So what do you think about this team? They give them only 92.2, 49% chance to play off, 1%. I don't know why they give that way, but for me, they are a little bit higher.
I think maybe there's some fear that if Jordan Bennington doesn't live to expectations, they're in trouble. And I would agree with that statement. but from what I've seen in the past, the Bennington seems to always rise to the occasion. So I'm not overly worried. I'm more worried about an injury. Um, and I don't think Rice can hold the fort for extended periods of time. This lineup is deep, 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 deep. And here's the reason. When I looked at Minnesota and I looked at St. Louis, I was initially tempted to put Minnesota ahead of them, but I eventually went with St. Louis is because you have Tarasenko, contract year, O'Reilly, contract year. And you know that these guys are going to come out strong. You got guys like Luskevich, who had a good year and I think will continue. Robert Thomas really developed beautifully last year, and you see he's been rewarded to that first line. They're solid down the middle with Thomas, O'Reilly, Shen, Logan Brown. I think Achari was a nice pickup for them as well. Barbashev had a decent year last year. He slowed down the second half, but I think he'll be good. That second line looks impressive, probably more so than the first when you look at Kyrou and Brendan Saad on the other side of O'Reilly. So the defense is solid. So I put them slightly ahead of Minnesota to finish second in that conference.
Great point here. We want to welcome Hi-Or Shabunia. Thanks to be with us. Talking about Jake Nibber. Possibly he made the team. It's not guaranteed yet, but I like this kid. I think he could make the team. A great question about this. I put in third. My question is going to be Jordan Bennington.
Yeah, and I figured that's what you would go with. That would be the reason. But
yeah,
you know what?
I'm worried about Tarasenko.
I'm not. I think he's going to have a good year, and if not, I could see them possibly trading him if things aren't going well.
The Tarasenko remind me a lot of the Evander Hurricane and the Mine. Like, if you go to the bar, you have a great bar, you have a bad bar. Which one you go? I don't know with Tarasenko.
I know, but
they have a deep team over there.
He's motivated.
If you talk about
the
best formation team-wise,
yes,
we have to put them in the top 3 in NHL, I believe.
Yeah. And we saw that in action last year. Like, they had a number of injuries at one point in the season. Yes. They didn't skip a beat. They kept winning.
And I think if you resume this Central Division, Mr. Notap, the 5 team, they are closer what we think they are. Like, you can put Nashville in the race, and they can have some better year, like no injuries and some player perform. Nashville can be finished third in that division of 4. Like, you cannot put anybody out of this Central Division quickly because I think 100%. They are very close. And then Colorado are not like they was last year. So they are maybe closer with St. Louis and Minnesota. And then you have to add the Nashville Predator with them. So it would be really interesting in the Central Division. And it would be interesting to see what's happening. Ottawa, Montreal, we give you about 1 minute. Tell us what you're looking for tonight.
Well, I thought last night's game would be a little bit closer. I was anticipating a much harder fought game. I just hope that the guys come out from Montreal come out to play tonight. I would like to see obviously Morris Slafkovsky and see what he can do with this new opportunity that's been afforded to him. The battle of the defense. I mean, all we got rid of today was Norlinder. So we're still looking at guys like Jacky, Harris, Barron. Which 2, if not 3, will make it. So keep your eyes open for that. Not a particularly good game for Jake Allen yesterday, but I think tonight they're going with. Are they going with Primo tonight?
No, Montembeault.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting watching that. Of course, I agree with you about this. Then Luciano make a great point about this. Close between Minnesota and St. Louis. This, Mr. Notap, conclude another great show, the Hockey Nation Live Show, the warm-up show, the number 2 episode. We'll be back tomorrow with the Central Division prediction tomorrow, guys. We're going to get out here, coming back for the another live streaming with the Montreal
Metropolitan.
Canadiens, the Ottawa Senator, Mr. Untitled. Really a pleasure having you again. A great analysis
My
about the
pleasure,
Fun team.
Coach.
And before we leave, we want to remind everybody, of course, be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the second half of what, Mr. Untitled?
Year 2022.
Here we go.
Let's go, Montreal.
Have an amazing, great night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.